We're live. And by live, I mean not live, but we're with each other in the moment and we're recording.
We are alive.
Yes.
That's something
Thank
to
God.
consider.
Or whatever deity or non-religious thing you
Are
call.
we going to get religious on this episode?
Sure.
Crazy. Crazy. All right.
Well, first things first, welcome to episode 3 of World's Greatest Dad with Ali Khan. That's Ali Khan, not me.
Dude, how's that? And when you said, it's like, boom. Like, like that's like George Washington crossing the Potomac.
Yeah. Nice profile.
That's my good. Yeah, it's not
Just
bad.
like George Washington, you willingly gave up power to the detriment of everyone else.
I didn't give up my power to Cooking Channel. They took my power from me. And then someone took power from them. R.I.P. Cooking Channel, man.
He's the world's greatest dad.
Speaking of powerful men, we should, friend of the show, we should congratulate Elon Musk on his 13th child. Allegedly his 13th child. I don't know why they're saying that he's allegedly the father. I don't think he's contesting it, but lucky number 13. Congratulations to our shadow president, Elon Musk.
I'm worried that I'm going to get an email from him, and if I don't respond, I'll get fired. But I don't have a job. But maybe he'll find a way to fire me from this. And he'll convince you, Neil. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're going to hire a different Ali Khan.
Yeah, probably one that could tell you what they did last week.
Yeah. Who's your favorite of Elon's 13 children? Is it the one that he disowned for being trans? Is it the one that he kind of like totes around to the White House that then he leaves behind and forgets? Who's your favorite?
Is that the one that was picking his nose?
Yeah.
I mean,
probably all of his kids pick their nose. I just don't know that they're photographed doing it.
My sum total of Elon's kids is that I guess he has a lot of them. If we're gonna
13, we just covered it. 13.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. I mean, you just told me. I mean, I'm trying to bring something to the table. Honestly, guys, just so you know, Neil feeds me everything. I'm like Pinocchio. Like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of, that's entirely not inaccurate. Look, the only thing I'll say about the children or the offspring of, the current powers that be in America 2025, and this is not a political statement at all, but gotta admit, when I was watching that inauguration, what's the kid's name? Barron, not Bannon, Barron.
Barron.
He did the thing like that, just like he popped hard in the video. No. He did this thing, like with his ear.
Oh yeah,
and it really. Well, I was like, wow, like that was he played his moment. So I would say more than Elon Musk, I think that kid. Because, and maybe, I don't know, has SNL made fun of him yet? Because I'm definitely down to see how that'll work. But because they usually make fun of the older kids, which is great stuff.
I mean, I remember when they made fun of, when Chris Farley played Rudy Giuliani's kid. Do you remember that?
No, I kind of, that's a weird one. Because, you know what, I actually got into SNL again. I mean, I grew up with it, watching it when I was like, kind of my son's age right now, 9 through 13, 14, 15. And then somewhere in the 90s, which was a great era, I kind of fell off of it. And then I've actually gotten into it the last couple years because I'm old now and I'm usually home on a Saturday night. And but I'm not so old that I won't be awake at 10:30, which is when it airs here. Does it air 11:30?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Neil, you might like Central Time Zone life. Knowing you,
you're so right. Because my memory as a child, as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, which that's a child. You're legally a child.
I loved how you approach that with caution. Like, it's a pretty clear-cut thing.
I don't know, because my kids are
when
7
I
and
was
4.
a kid.
Yeah. No, I remember falling asleep on my downstairs couch at some point during Saturday Night Live and waking up to something happening at Showtime at the Apollo. Do you remember Showtime at the Apollo?
Yeah, I sure do.
It's Showtime at the
Absolutely.
Apollo. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they would boo you off, and the clown
Yeah.
would come,
The
and
cane, yes. Yeah, get the hook.
yeah.
Amazing. Yes.
hmm So yeah, no, I rarely, if ever, made it through to the good nights, as they call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, congratulations to our shadow president, Elon Musk, on your 13th child. I hope that you don't get anywhere near this baby because you're a terrible parent.
Yeah. We're going there. You know what? It's nice to know that the gloves have come off on episode 3.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
His father says he's terrible. His father went on a podcast
Oh, really?
called the Wide Awake podcast and said that he's a terrible father. That
Oh,
they have
really?
too many nannies, and
Oh.
he doesn't. To be fair, his Elon's father had a child with his stepdaughter, so it's pot kettle.
Dang. This
Yeah.
is crazy stuff.
These are just
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah,
Um,
no. It's look, I tend to unplug from, I mean, a lot of the other. There's when I intake the news, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. There's kind of top line stuff, and then I'm like, I gotta take this and just put it away because it's if I all I'll do is think about things that in my immediate moment in my schedule today 10:20 a.m. Tuesday February 25th I cannot control. You know what I mean? So I try to digest just enough. I mean, I'm still looking, believe me. I can't keep my head in the sand all day. Usually at night is when I'm like, what's happening now? And it's some crazy stuff. Stuff. I didn't know minerals were so valuable. I mean, I kind of did and I didn't. You know what I mean? A lot of things I don't know. Neil. But I am a dad. Oh,
And that's
bro.
why we're here. So,
Yeah.
speaking of being a dad, we don't only talk about fatherhood news, we answer questions from your legion of fans,
Yeah.
which is vast. And I collect the questions and I decide which ones I'm going to read to you. So, here we go.
He has to sort through them, folks. It's not as simple
many.
as we'd
many.
be here all night. It would be February 26th. It's a short
Too many
month, too.
questions. But
Yeah.
keep sending, and we'll get to them eventually. So this is from Alan in Silver City, New Mexico. Alan writes, "Hey, Ollie, I'm a newish dad to an 18-month-old who's absolutely adorable. I love hanging out with her. My problem is I absolutely hate the other parents of similarly aged children. I hate talking to other parents at the playground. I hate the need to make small talk or ask how old their kids are or what preschools they're looking at. It's mind-numbingly boring and literally makes my skin crawl. My wife tells me I have to get over it, and like this is a part of being, and like it or not, this is part of being a parent. But it's honestly one of the reasons I was reluctant to have kids in the first place. I have a ton of social anxiety, and I just don't want to have to interact with people I have nothing in common with. I don't want to deprive my daughter of playdates or anything in the future, or be that curmudgeon dad at school. Should I just put headphones on, pretend I'm on a work call if other parents approach me? Does this ever get better? How can I stop the bleeding on my own personal nightmare that is parents socializing?" So that was Alan.
That's Alan. Silver City, New Mexico. I'm not sure if that's northern or southern New Mexico. That's how I divide the Sun Belt, north and south. Well, Alan, that's a lot to unpack. I will say this. It was a real awakening when I became a parent. And within, 6, 8 months of my son's existence, I find myself at a meeting at the daycare facility. And there was a very serious meeting. There was an uproar. The people who ran the daycare were essentially terminated. Now, this wouldn't be a big deal because you're like, okay, new company is over. But this was a weird, complex thing. Like, daycare is expensive, as we know. I was living in Los Angeles, which is an expensive city, so that's double expensive. And we found a miracle, a sweetheart deal. We lived in downtown, and that's where a number of government facilities were located, including the Metro Transit Authority, which is not exactly what it's called. That's the New York thing. I don't know what the LA proper acronym is, but it was LA Metro, whatever, and they offered a really sweet, affordable daycare facility. We were able to get a slot in. It was great. And then some people there raised a ruckus. They caused a ruckus, and they were like, let's get new people in. And I'm sitting there like in misery at this meeting going, everything was fine. I just want my kid to have some daycare so I can go to my job. And I came upon the conclusion, part of being a parent is having to deal with adults that you would never want to deal with, ever. You would be like, no, I would never hang out with this guy, never in a million years. But you will share an experience because your children share that experience. Now, that's that. But we have some other things to talk about, Alan, that, frankly, even someone like me who is, the world's greatest dad, that was shameless. I'm into the profile right now. The lighting's kind of softly lit on me. But, look, social anxieties, all that stuff, that's kind of a whole other department. But, I would say, too, you do owe it to your kid who is going to want to have social interactions to find that happy medium where you can support your child in their social activity endeavors. That's just, you're doing it for your kid, baby. You're doing it for your kid. I'll tell you, real talk, over this weekend, there were things I was doing. Watching anime on my son's laptop because he claims the TV is not up to snuff in terms of streaming quality. And I'm sitting in his room watching this anime, and I'm like, let's just knock out another episode. And I actually like the show, but the point is you're doing it for your kid. You're doing it for your kid, and all these moments are so critical and important. And even though you think they don't remember, other people remember it too. It's a bond, and it's not always super fun. You led this thing off by saying, I love my kid. Great. That's great. But being a parent is also being around your kid when it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Okay. So, yeah, man. Take it as it goes. As far as social anxiety goes, I'd hate to push you away from this podcast, but there might be another one out there that could help you deal with that because, again, you owe it to your kid who is going to have their own bandwidth on what their social activities are, and yeah, you may have to deal with it. I like the work call move because that could be your safe space. You're like, oh, I gotta work. I be TBC. Yeah, I like that move. So you're already thinking big picture. So there you go. Take it as it goes, Alan. Take it as it goes. But yeah. It happens. Play dates are going to happen.
So avoidance is the answer. Just pretend you're.
Yeah. You can't play the ace every hand. You know what I mean? You can't play. You know what I've been doing lately? How about this as a little strategy? This is what I was doing to get prepared for this. Because as you know, Neil, sometimes a little late, and I have a thing with time management. Okay. I literally set the timer on my watch. I set my timer to do 5 minutes of sitting down with my wife to have a little coffee, just to chat. And then I did another 10 minutes on answering some emails. And then it was okay, time to go. So set a timer on the old Apple Watch. Or, maybe you just have a stopwatch on you. You know what I mean? And I gotta go. But, it is what it is. And you know what, too? There might be a way. And again, this might be on that other podcast. I hate this, Neil. I don't want to push people away. I want people to I want their business. I want their ear listening business. But it may be time to consider maybe not just a podcast, but to maybe look at the source of your social anxiety? Is there something you can do to find a better balance? Because it's not just you anymore, baby. You know what I mean, Alan? We got a team now, Alan. We have a team. You got to think about the team. Let's think about the team. Team before me. Yeah. There's some good cliches to round that out. Make the edit make sense. Yeah.
Sorry, is the team Alan and his child and
The
wife?
family. Yes, the family. That would be the
Uh,
family. You got to
and
think
so
about the
are they
family.
playing a game against the other families in the neighborhood?
I wouldn't say it's adversary. I think they are. I think the game is the game of life, and we want to make sure we win the game of life. Which, unlike the board game, which makes you think it's all about money, that it's not just about money. It's about happiness,
Hmm.
and some money obviously helps
Is
happiness.
that
Like
is that how you win? I know that's how you win Monopoly. Is that how you win life by amassing the most money? Like, how do you win the game of life?
it's been a long time. I just remember the spinning wheel. That might be. Hey, you know what? Have you entered the board game era yet? Do your kids
Oh
like
yeah,
board
yeah, yeah,
games?
yeah.
Oh, you're deep. You're deep in that. Are you a
Well,
board game guy? You seem
no,
you
no.
no.
I'm not a board game guy. It's enjoyable. We've done, Monopoly Junior. So
Mm.
remember, 7-year-old daughter, 4-year-old son.
That's
Uh,
my. I have not advanced past Monopoly Junior.
yeah. We're,
That's
we're,
enough
we're at
for me.
Monopoly Junior, which is
Yeah.
good because there's an end point. You don't have to just. I don't know that I've ever finished a game of Monopoly proper in my life because at some point you just go, all right, just count it up. Count it up.
Yeah.
Let's call it.
Yeah.
But no, so that's good. And then our son, he's still usually on a team. He'll join usually and he'll float around whoever's kind of doing well. He'll join their team. Get
All right.
frustrated at times. We try to get him involved. Um, we'll do Monopoly Junior. Um, my daughter doesn't know how to play chess, which I guess it's not a board game, but there's a board. It's a game played with a board.
It's a
Um,
board. I mean, we'll let it.
all right,
It's
you'll allow
general.
it.
Yeah, sure.
We
It's
actually, my
impressive.
son does love Guess Who. But here's the thing: is he can't read. So when we play, he'll just be, ask the questions, and then I'll kind of have to come around and be like, um, "Is is your person so and so?" He's like, "I don't know. Is your person Bob?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, your
Oh,
person's Bob."
can I
Um,
tell you? I just got. I mean, I guess we had the game, but I'm really into it right now because it's fun. I have a very. I'm pretty ADD, ADHD. I think. I'm sure if I got diagnosed, it'd be like, yes, But, I just, video games, like, I don't want to play, like, Zelda for, like, 5 years. I like to play, like, quick resolution games, like boxing. Oh, I got knocked out. Game's over. I love Guess Who. It's fast, moves
yeah.
along. I'm happy to play rounds and rounds and rounds of it. We just started playing it again as some hope of getting our son off his screen sometimes because he's kind of got autonomy. He's got his own world. He even has a sign in his room called Hef's house. So he's got iPads and computers, and he could just disappear. Like we could be home with him, and it would be like we were away because I haven't seen him for hours. So we've been trying to do the board game thing, luring him. Started Guess Who, and then here's the other very cool thing: you don't have to just stick to their original characters. This kid, my son, like found online other Guess Who printouts.
Yeah.
And we love this anime show called Attack on Titan. And dude freaking print out Attack on Titan and slipped it in there. And it's crazy too. It's just something that we really dug. He's really into anime, which I guess I mean, you're a numbers guy. Anime's blown up. Like it's a
Uh,
huge thing amongst Gen Z,
I think we just,
right?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was big when I was a kid. I never got I have a few follow-up questions about the printouts.
Okay.
Do you have like a really good laser printer? And
Not
then
even close. That
no,
thing's a piece of junk.
black and white? Is it like the ink is dragging on these things?
It's color. I mean, it's a brother. It's
It's
this
brother.
printer is God, I want to say it's not 20 years old. It's a decade plus. But the problem is like it doesn't not work, you know? So you're
Yeah.
like, and I'm not here printing out, the architectural firm went south. So we ended that business sadly. So no reason for the big printouts. But no, it's fine. It's totally fine. It
Right,
worked.
I have another question.
Yeah.
The card stock of the characters that he's putting in, because it has to be a certain thickness. How's Heath accomplishing this?
So this is what's funny. We ran out of paper, and we usually a lot of things. Well, not a lot of things, but printer paper is something we just kind of order in haste. We ended up accidentally buying like high quality paper. Like I hate it because I'm like every time I print something out, I'm like this is a waste. Because
Right.
if I'm printing something out, this is just because I don't I need to have it in hand,
It's
and
got to
it's
be
like
worthy of the stock of paper.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But in this scenario, it all came together. It all came together. And it's I'm telling you, Guess Who's an amazing game because of that. And he totally like I was like and what's crazy too is like he like found this online. Like he was doing things of a capability that I would have done as an office PA. In the aughts. I was like, wow, that's crazy. He's just click, click, clack, click, click, clack, clack, clack. It's crazy. Yeah. Guess Who? So, big fan. If you ever get bored of, those typical superhero types or whatever those people are, Gus or.
Yeah.
It is. Guess Who's funny because, eventually you're kind of like, to be blunt, you get into like, okay, it's clearly one of the people of color. Like the safe move is pick a white guy. There's a ton of those.
Can I be honest? I think that the version of Guess Who we got is like the OG. I think it's all white people, and there's very few women.
Really?
Um,
Well, that's
it's
that
like-
that
it's
I
like-
would
it's a
concur.
problematic version of Guess Who, which is maybe just all Guess Who. I don't know.
Yeah, there is something about anything that just it seemingly looks like a kids show, but we're not really talking about real problems. I think that's ultimately the thing of Guess Who. It's like everyone's happy. It's like, are you really happy? Like what's really going on? Like where's the rest of your tribe? Like do you feel comfortable around these other people? I don't know. I would like to examine your Guess Who. I think too. What's funny is because it is essentially profiling people. Like it is profiling, and it does involve race, gender, ethnicity.
Sure.
It's the realms of possibility are endless. However, in the anime thing, it's very much built on the characters of the show because perhaps it's true when we're colorblind there is no race problem or in a scenario where everyone's homogenous.
Ollie,
really
if you go on the old Google machine, there's a world of custom Guess Who. You've got serial killer Guess Who. I mean, obviously,
That's
you've got all different
sick.
TV characters. I mean, this is a real, Guess Who. They cracked the code on.
I know, right? And the best part is it's free. This is free. This is free.
Just
Isn't
cost
it?
of a brother printer and the paper.
I mean, look, that's like saying,
And the ink.
oh yeah, I'm paying for electricity right now. I mean, you were gonna, that money's already been spent. I spent that in 2009 at Costco. Yeah, and then the paper. I will say this: if you're gonna do this, go get yourself some good paper. In fact, you're better off having just because I don't know how much stuff you're printing out. God, I don't know this paper.
Not a lot. I will tell you, on a recent vacation in the Dominican Republic, we learned that in order to board the plane to return home, you needed a paper ticket. And so my wife very arrogantly declined at the bag check when the woman offered to print our tickets. She says, no, thanks. And then we go through security and the whole thing, and she's like, where are your tickets? And my wife shows a phone, and she's like, no. So then we all were waiting there like fools, Ollie, for her to go back. Did I say to her, you probably should have printed those tickets? No, I did not, because why, that wasn't going to help.
I would have loved to seen the face of a person at the airport who's just like, when your wife's like, no, we don't need a printout, and they're like, oh, what are you gonna do? I'll see you soon, you know. Um, and I assume the source of that was because, like, why waste the paper? Why kill a tree?
Yeah, I mean, my wife is very minimalist. She
Yeah,
likes getting rid of things. I am the what you would call an unchecked hoarder. A hoarder, if no one was telling me, hey, you got to get rid of stuff.
wow.
Which is I guess good rather than having two hoarders in the relationship.
Yeah,
Um,
but I'm kind of curious. A hoarder in 2025. My dad was a bit of a hoarder to a degree. I mean, you could open the front door to the house, but there were some things that just absolutely didn't make sense as I got older. Like he was a doctor and he would wear suits to work 5 days a week. Actually, no, 7 days a week because he would go to the hospital every day, and he would go to the dry cleaner a lot because back then all those shirts had to be dry cleaned. My mom didn't iron stuff, whatever. And every time he went to the dry cleaner, you get the plastic sleeve. He would take that bag and then he would just toss it on the ground in the garage. And over years, it built up to this gigantic blue pile of plastic. Like something you'd see floating in the ocean that you're like, oh my God, guys, we have a problem. No, it was just the Con Garage, 15 Clayton Hills Lane. And then one year I came to visit and I looked at it. I was so baffled. I mean, this is when you become an adult and you're like, and also your parents are like, you're old and this doesn't make sense. And I literally was like, yeah, I'm not, this is unacceptable. And I got rid of it all. I was like, I'm throwing this all away. So that was some hoarding he did. I guess it's hoarding, or it was like,
well, did
just,
you ever ask? Not that any of this is logical. Did you ever say like, hey, what's the plan for these? That's what my wife will ask me a
so,
lot. She's like, what's the plan for this?
yeah, I mean, I think I was just like, at the time I was like, this, why do you have all this stuff here? And, my dad being an immigrant and of that generation never viewed me as an equal. But like, it was like, oh, you're an adult? Whatever, And so I think he just was like, give me a reason why I shouldn't do this. But we never even got into that kind of back and forth. I was like, this is crazy. This stuff could catch fire. And he's like, it's a garage. Whatever. It'll somehow catch fire. I mean, and the plastic will burn. I don't know. And it was weird, but the way that house was built was a brick house. He was like, well, it won't matter because this wall is a fireproof wall. So that's as far as it went. It was like, this is a fire hazard. It was like, here's a bunch of plastic that's been collecting for decades. Let's get rid of it. I had to come up with a reason because it wouldn't be enough to say, yeah, let's get rid of the mountain of plastic in the garage that serves no purpose. And I had to come up with a reason. And I said, it's a fire hazard. And he said, well, no, it's fine because this wall is fireproof. And then I went and threw it away anyways. I put it in the trunk of his car and I did back and forth. Sadly, it was illegal dumping. I went to some office building and I was like, oh, fuck it. So it probably is floating in the ocean because I put it in a giant dumpster in some office park dumpster. So there's a little hoarding tale.
Lots to unpack there. Let's revisit the hoarder topic because I'd like to know what else your father was.
Oh, there's more. There
Yeah,
is
yeah.
more.
Let's move on. I
Yeah.
did want to just button this up and let you know that to win the Game of Life board game, you need to accumulate the most money at the end of the game by collecting life tiles and cash, with the player having the highest combined total winning the game. Essentially, you win by having the most money when the game ends. So, folks, you can take it with you
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the life board game coffin. I don't know if there's like a funeral at the end of that, but I mean that is literally. I'm actually surprised. I mean, I guess how do you evaluate happiness? You know, it'd be kind of subjective if at the end of the game of life board game you go, actually, I enjoyed this the most, and then you win. You know, so I guess they
Yeah,
need a mathematical
I
thing.
think maybe if they revamped it or they made like I could see like a Portlandia episode where they do life, but instead it was about who can donate the most to nonprofits. You know what I mean? Like you accumulate
Oh,
wealth so you could, so you could create the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That would seem like the more
yeah.
like, modern or an ethical spin on it.
Hmm.
Because it is built on greed. It is built
Yeah.
on
Well, speaking of, did you know I learned this recently that Monopoly, there was actually a counter game called Anti-Monopoly in the 70s, and
really.
it was created as a response to the lessons taught by the mainstream game Monopoly, which the creator Ralph Anspach believed created the impression that monopolies were something desirable. His intent was to demonstrate how harmful monopolies could be to a free enterprise system and how antitrust laws work to curtail them. Here's how you play the game. Ready? The original anti monopoly game begins with the board in a monopolized state, similar to the result of a completed monopoly game. Instead of real estate and public utilities, properties in anti monopoly are individual businesses that have been brought under single ownership. These monopolies are called company cartels and split into three categories: oligopolies, trusts, and monopolies. Each of these requires a different amount of resources to topple. It's a revolution. It's like it's
Yeah.
Can You Hear the People Sing in a board game. Anyway, they got sued by Parker Brothers and
Oh, of
Charlie White.
course. The
Never.
I that nothing better than Parker Brothers suing, like literally going after the heart.
Mhm.
That's not even a headshot. Like let's shoot them in the heart. I
Yeah.
would love to see this creator. I picture him in a turtleneck, big fat lamb chop sideburns. You know what I mean? Like a real 70s college professor type guy, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I think about, a Banana Republic kind of revolution. It would be great if it was just set in Central America as well. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do we, wasn't that the whole thing, like the banana thing? There was like a thing. There was a thing with bananas. This is when I used to like watch a lot of Oliver Stone movies. I don't know. I think that's amazing. I think walking away, maybe it's time. I mean, I'm still in the zone where I can play a board game. Maybe it's time for us to maybe seek out some of these interesting alt board games to bring them into our families just to spark a little conversation, to maybe, put a little spice in the stew, see what happens. See what happens. Maybe it could just reshape things, you know? Um, yeah, that's wild. I think there should be other alt Monopoly sounds amazing because and I'd love to see the car. I assume it's like a VW bus, or like it's definitely not a Tesla. It's definitely not a Tesla.
Well,
It
considering
could
it was created in 1973, I'm going to say no, not a Tesla.
diesel, diesel. Oh, you know what it should be now? It should be one of those diesel Benzes that runs on the oil from the Chinese restaurant. Do you know about that? Do you know those things? I knew
No.
these guys in the aughts. They were like, well, he was like a successful, semi successful commercial director. And he had a Benz from the 70s that he reconverted to run on essentially biofuel. So what he would do is he'd go to the frickin' dollar Chinese restaurant. I'm sure you have those in New York. And he'd be like, let me get your reused oil. And that's how his car would run. Yeah. How
No,
about
nothing
that?
is a dollar in New York anymore. Not even the dollar pizza places. They're like $1.50. Also, bagels are now $2 for a dry bagel. I mean, it's
Really?
inflation is it's real.
I mean, now we could go into the cheap eats thing. This was a dad podcast. We were talking about board games, to be fair. Am I getting us back on track? That's amazing. I'm grown. I'm more mature.
That's the point. Let's take another question. This one is
Yeah.
from Kurt. This is Kurt from San Diego. Speaking of food, Kurt says, Ollie, what's your grill situation? We're thinking of upgrading our old crappy charcoal thing I've had since college so we can host some backyard ragers this summer. What's your recommendation on grills I should be looking at? And do all the bells and whistles really even matter? Am I just driving myself crazy trying to optimize my grill master skills when really it's more to do with the meat itself or the seasoning? I know you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, everything you said is right. God, I could go on all day about grills, but the basic things are this: is you have to really commit to what your budget's going to be. Do you want to go for something that's, easy to use but expensive and could cost you more to maintain, or do you want to, get another quote crappy charcoal grill? I mean, I would say that one of the best stories I've ever had about grilling was a buddy of mine went to a wedding in Mendoza, Argentina. In Argentina, they do like the asado. They love the grilled meat. And he was leaving the airport in Buenos Aires to go into the wine country. And as he was driving in the cab, he saw these construction workers who took a break. And they set up 2 cinder blocks. They threw some light coals on there and threw a grill top on it. They were just cooking over cinder blocks. And that's like in the land of grilled meat. So, when you say crappy grill, like people do more with less, yeah, I just think you have to ask yourself how much do you want to spend, and you can go from there. I've had people talk to me about this for a gazillion years, but I'd say broadly, it's like, okay, do you want to just get a new charcoal grill? There's that. Do you want to get a gas grill that's like easy to use, but that's when it can get real expensive all the way to those custom jobs. I happen to be a guy who's gotten some nice gear over the years, playing the old product game, and I've actually been pretty happy with a pellet grill, which it runs on these little. It promises it runs on electricity. It promises the ease of gas because it's all switches and knobs and it's very precise heat and stuff. And it has a quote fire taste because rather than just using propane gas, it has these little pellets that are made from basically sawdust, and that runs through an auger. This is the most technical you ever see me, Neil. But you have all these little wood pellets. It runs through an auger, and then there's a firebox, and it then generates heat and to a degree some smoke. It's not exactly a smoker. It's not exactly a grill. Some people say the brisket bros will say it's an easy bake oven. I would say too, you're not going to get the same effect of direct fire cooking because the heat source it's indirect heat. But they've made a lot of improvements, and I happen to have one. In full disclosure, Traeger sent me one of their newer ones, their top of the line one, and I can't tell you that $3,500 is for everybody, but this grill is pretty. I enjoy it a lot. They've definitely improved it, but it's just. I mean, look, man. I mean, you want to spend $300? You want to spend $30,000? I mean, that's literally what you're looking at here. So, get yourself to a barbecue store. Also, I'd say this. Ask yourself the type. You said Ragers? Or the old Ragers? One thing I've learned when you're cooking for a party is no one wants to hear, maybe you're having a beer yourself, maybe you're raging at the Rager. You may not want to stick to a charcoal grill because that takes work and maintenance. You know what I mean? If you're cooking for a crowd, it helps to have convenience on your side. So you may want to consider a bigger investment and have something that's just easy to use that will go all night. Because it sounds like you want to go all night.
How much would that cinder block grill cost me, you think?
So, it's funny? I actually picked up some cinder blocks, Home Depot. And as cool as that sounds, charcoal, you need a tremendous amount of heat to actually make it work. So it seems like it's a pretty easy, fun idea, but all those bells and whistles also means ease and time saved. Like whenever I use charcoal, you always make a bonfire to cook a couple steaks. You're done, and then you're like, oh, there's still more heat left. That's just the way the game is played. So I think if you're a construction worker in Buenos Aires, maybe you have a different perspective on things. Maybe you don't feel like having a grill. I'll tell you, I have a little tailgate grill that uses propane tank. Like a small camping size one, and that thing cooks pretty good. And I also say this, most people sure, people say they want to make ribs, but if you were really doing it, you'd already know what you want. You're probably just like cooking food. Burger, hot dog, shish kebab. You just need something. Sometimes a portable propane kind of grill will cook a lot. You'd be surprised. So, yeah, you don't have to spend a ton, but, I don't know. You have to ask yourself what you're trying to cook, what
Sure.
you're trying to cook.
And what's the $30,000 grill do? Like, is that going to give me like a back massage? Like, what is the
I
best
mean,
feature?
we're talking like probably at that point, you've got a custom kitchen, you've got a rotisserie, you've got a sear station, you've got whenever you see those gas grills that are on the cheaper end, you can see how they get all mucked up, and then you have to replace parts, and then it just dies. And the other things are just bigger, more well made, more bells and whistles. But it's just, I mean, if you were talking about entertaining, yeah, if you're like, oh yeah, I'm cooking a turkey over here, and over here I've got like lobsters boiling. I mean, it's basically just replicating your kitchen outside. So that's what you're getting there. But yeah, I mean, some of these grills are definitely they're starting to creep into several $1,000s. And then you've got the people who do those big Texas style barbecue offset smokers. Those are huge and expensive and thousands of dollars as well. But that's kind of niche. My guess is if you're asking me about ragers, let's stick to maybe a little propane action for you, or if you don't want to afford it, get yourself a big old Weber. It's a decent grill, or any kind of prototype like that, charbroil, whatever. They work. You may just need a little new one. But then a little grill maintenance never hurts either. DM me, we'll talk.
Got that, Kurt?
Yeah, Kurt. What part of the country does Kurt live in?
He said San Diego.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you'll be grilling all day. I mean, that's kind of, as somebody who lived in Southern California myself, that's ideal. You may need to have multiple grills. I'll say this. I like to use my pellet grill here in Austin, Texas, because 6 months out of the year, it's really hot, like miserably hot. The last thing you want to do is stand there over a live fire. It's a lot easier to turn a switch on, step back inside, wait 10, 15 minutes, and then just cook right away, and then turn the thing off when it's 100 degrees out. So, yeah. But you don't have that problem in San Diego. You're there all day.
Yep. No climate issues in California.
Fair enough. Neil, well-read, big picture guy.
Look, I mean, how do you want to suffer? I mean, are any of us safe? I had a dad say to me a couple of years ago, so what's your plan for climate change? I was like, it's not good. Fearful of it. I don't. I think with our property, if hurricane, should rise to the 4-inch line and the equator, and he was like doing all this high school level math, and I was like, I don't know, it's not good. It's not gonna be good for us.
I would pay money to be in any scenario or situation when someone with a straight face could ask me that. I would pay, I mean, not a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but like door money, $20 to be in a situation. And I want the whole experience where someone organically would be like, so what's your plan for climate change?
Yeah, I think it's like his go-to question.
I mean,
for people, I don't know.
Is he a prepper? Is he one of those people who's just trying to flex on, whatever he's got?
Prepped. He's got a plan. He's more prepped than me. So
yeah, It's that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would pay an extra $5 to have a bird's eye view of your reaction for the first time. In fact, I might pay more for that than to actually hear this guy to ask you the question.
Yeah.
That could have been the peak of my day. What's your plan for climate change? It's, if anything, that could be the most counter thing to this for someone who professes his podcast is just about a guy who's winging it, who's just kind of taking it day by day. That is the opposite. What is your plan for like a major geological catastrophic event? Pray? Finish Squid Game? Finish Squid Game?
You might as well see how it ends.
I know. I mean, at least I'll have a good distraction. Oh my God!
Oh.
Wow! Whoa!
Hey, Ollie.
Wow!
Ollie, Charlie from Nebraska needs some advice. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Charlie writes, I need advice. My 13-year-old son refuses to be bored. My wife gives in and will give him any video game or electronic device he wants. He's in a ton of activities, karate, piano, Sunday school, but whenever there's a day off or some downtime, he's real fidgety. It makes me worried. When I was a kid, we had to make our own fun. The boredom was kind of the point. We'd ride our bikes to the woods, build things, or mess around. I'm really worried that this generation isn't going to be able to just sit with their own thoughts. How can I make sure he has the freedom to do that without it seeming like I'm going against my wife?
Well, that's the tricky part. Not going against your wife. That's always the recipe for disasters. The last thing you want to do is enter that kind of. You can't fight a war. Don't fight a war on two fronts. This much we know. This much we know. I'm of the mindset that the world we're in right now is so magnificently different that for us to simply go, well, in my day, it's a set of circumstances that is to a degree almost irrelevant. I know a lot of people like to wax nostalgic about, I remember playing outside and then the sun would set and my mom's like, oh, time to come in. Like, that's great. That's great. But that's just not now, is it? One could argue, hey, remember when like you would just work in the office and you didn't have to take work home with you? Oh well. Oh well. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. Similar situation, I think. We try and do a lot, and I say congratulations to you and your wife for loading up your kid with lots of activity. Sounds like she's very busy, which I think is good. There's a lot of stuff out there, but yeah, I mean it's a hard world to ignore. Not wanting to have like stimulus in the palm of your hand. Something we've been doing lately that was passed on. Just talking to actually, our son's doctor and stuff is like, he likes to, the way he navigates, and he kind of said this as a dad too, but also as a, physician, he was like, I like to do the trade-offs of like how much social media time for how much you're doing your homework or playing outside. So it's like, you're basically, what we found with it is not so much the time value of like, is it 2-to-1, 3-to-1, whatever, but the breaks that can happen. Because I think that's kind of key. Is like, I can't live in a world without this thing, period. But can I go, all right, what am I doing right now? Am I really using this for a perfect reason? Or am I just kind of doom scrolling and wasting time and stuff too? And I find that the strategy, at least, of going, okay, I need you to do 2 hours homework to 1 hour screen time is a good way to at least, find that kind of balance and stuff like that. So yeah, I think something along those lines. I mean, that's what we're doing. And again, I'm just going to say it. We're in a world where this is what it is. There is, I mean, even if your kid doesn't have a phone, his friend's going to have a phone. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, or there's an iPad or there's a something. And it's a bit of a battle, but I don't know, and then I think too, it's also, some of this stuff could be what this happens to us. It's like, and this kind of throws it back on me. It's like, okay, well, what if he did all his homework? Well, then you are on your screen 24/7 until the next round of school starts. Family time is another thing too. Even doing screen time with someone, I would say that there is a nuanced difference between someone who's just, we have an only child, so add that factor in, and that person just being kind of totally in their zone alone, or interacting with people and stuff too. And I kind of give a little allowance to when my kid is maybe playing a game and also he's like FaceTiming with a friend. That's something that he does a lot too, because there is some sort of interaction there too. It may not be him riding bikes till the sun's setting and the fireflies come out, but welcome to 2025, baby. So yeah, I just think like having the dialogue and having recognizing like the power of this for that, screen time, and ultimately having breaks. That should help a little bit. I hope that helps. It's tough out there. Very tough figuring this stuff out. Probably, yeah. Might be the biggest challenge being a parent these days, is screen time, I think.
Well, there you have it.
A good dad podcast.
Look on that, Charlie.
That was, that could be the book. That could be the book. Self-published. It's good.
ISBN number TBD.
Yeah. Not sure. What's funny? I was listening to another podcast, go figure, and it was an old colleague of ours, Neil, Mr. Alton Brown, was on a podcast with former New York Times food writer Mark Bittman, and Alton was, the Alton way going, remember those places we'd go to with books called libraries? And I was like, yeah, there were those things. I mean, the time it took to go to a library to ask the lady to look up the Dewey Decimal System, when literally I'm like, I already have the information.
Yeah, they still have them. We've got libraries in New York.
Do you go to the library? Is that a thing you do?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Well, with kids, sure. I mean, yeah.
That's good.
Take the books out. Forget to return them. They charge you. You bring them back. You fight the charge.
Yeah.
I got a fun Mark Bittman story for you. Ready?
Oh, let's go. Great.
My dad's old coworker's wife. You still with me?
I know. Like, it doesn't.
It was like a mortgage loan officer or whatever. These people that people come to take a loan to buy a house or a second house or a boat or whatever. Yeah. And you interview them and you get the paperwork in order. So anyway, just to my father's coworker's wife. And she's interviewing this person, and what are your assets, and what do you do for a living, and blah, blah, blah. And the guy starts to get irritated, and he says, I'm Mark Bittman, for God's sakes. And I think about that a lot. I think about this being on the phone.
No, you don't. No, do you? Do you?
I think about being on the phone with someone who's just trying to collect the financial information to process your mortgage and being told, I'm Mark Bittman. How dare you?
I think what's really funny is I know exactly. I mean, first, like, it's just naturally funny for you to just say, I think about this a lot. And it's a great line that belongs in a comedy. I think about this a lot. You're like, what? Really? Of all the things you can think about a lot, you think about Mark Bittman saying, I'm Mark Bittman, to a mortgage loan officer. But I understand it, and I think I understand your fascination with it, because I'll explain mine. Part of why I was so engaged, I was like, I want to listen to this podcast, wasn't for Alton Brown's book. I was like, what's he doing now? And more importantly, what's Mark Bittman doing now? Because these were two people who, were these real authorities of food at a time when the internet did not saturate us with, essentially, you could call it noise, but with a lot of information and a lot of new channels for us to get that information of a variety of subjects, including food, and there's something very real about how those are guys who they're basically reminiscing about their careers a little bit. I mean, Alton Brown published a memoir, which is like essentially reflecting, right? Looking back, looking in the rear view. And yeah, I mean, there was a time where these guys, and I quite appreciated their POVs. I think they were smart guys, right? But what's funny is like, there's a lot of other smart-ish esque. Maybe 80% is good, 70% is good, but it's like, yeah, you're not that sole authority anymore. And I think what's interesting is like how essentially like you could hit an apex in your career and then find your entire whole world, the value of it is just diminished because the world has changed. And I personally find that connection being someone who, to be blunt, has kind of like transitioned away from. I mean, I'll still write for an article for like a food magazine, but I'm so much more committed to this podcast and you, Neil, and really just putting my own stuff out there because I think we're in an era where it's like we have the choice to choose where we want to get our stuff from, and yeah, there's no need to like fight a paywall or even think that an authority is a supposed authority. I mean, the truth is like we can just kind of go with what seems to make the most sense to us, and relatability and stuff. And so I'm Mark Bittman. It's like you were Mark Bittman, but the world and Mark Bittman the world's moved on from just Mark Bittman being Mark Bittman. How deep is that? Am I anywhere close to why you think about this 4 or 5 times a day?
Oh, what you were waxing on. I was trying to find this quote. I remember John Mayer said something about. He's like, I decided at some point I could keep chasing, number ones, or I could just kind of age gracefully with my fans. Um, and I think about that from time to time. Not a lot.
Yeah,
But that idea of just, you know, that you don't have to be at the top of the mountain for
right.
your hike to matter. Maybe you go halfway up and you turn back, you go get lunch. Like, but you were at the mountain, you were on the mountain. Why do you have to be at the top, you know? So what? So that you could say, I won, I collected the most money in the board game of life. And then you fall off the mountain. And then, you know, what happens to that money? It goes to your kids, and they're mad because you weren't there, because you were at the top of the mountain. You didn't spend any time with them because you were just so obsessed with getting to the top of the mountain.
I think the timing of this podcast ties into, and also talking about how Mark Bittman has to say, I'm Mark Bittman to the mortgage loan officer, totally ties into, I'll just throw cards on the table and hopefully a lot of dads will, maybe some dads will appreciate it, maybe not, they don't care. But, you know, it was 2023 and you and I had been working on a Food Network pilot, if you will. It didn't go. And I literally was sailing into 23 second quarter going, whoa, what's happening? I pictured a very different scenario at the top of the year, and it was not. I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected. And I also found myself like, you know, it was a combination of like, you know, COVID was really in the rear view, you know, so I was taking my kid to lots of activities. The world was kind of moving back up to speed, you know, and I found myself like kind of struggling mentally, trying to like chase down information, but at the same time, like picking my son up from school, taking him to this activity and that activity, because all that stuff's back on. You know what I mean? 2023, I feel like it's fair to say, like, okay, the world's back open for business, you know? And at one point, I was supposed to be on a call, and I was rushing to drop him off at you know, whatever activity it was, and he asked, and I kind of was really kind of curt and abrupt with him, and he goes, all right, well, bye then, and he walked upstairs, and my I was gutted. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I stopped and I went up there and he was kind of like, whatever, you just feel bad. It's like you didn't really want to spend time with me, hang out with me. And it started a whole new thing where I was like, you know what? This, there's, I don't want to say like, oh yeah, then I found my new North Star and it's just about being the best dad. But, you realize, what do you really have? What do you really have? Like, when you hit the top of the mountain. And that I would think that was a kind of thing of like, not so much great aging gracefully with my fans, but also going like, what? All right, there are certain things that are not in my control. What's in my control, and what can I focus on? And it's a gift to have, a family to go, I'm going to spend time with my kid. Like, you're never not wrong. You're never not wrong. And it's kind of funny, too. I saw some clip of, like, Michael Keaton on a podcast, and I would hear his voice all the time as a way to kind of, like, make myself feel better. Because, look, what I'm trying to do is make money, which isn't a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, we need money. We need money to survive in this society we've created. But Michael Keaton said in this little podcast clip that would just run through my mind in 2023, he goes, never, always spend as much time with your kids as you can. You'll never regret it. You might miss out on some jobs, but it'll be worth it in the long run. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And, I don't know. I don't know how it's all working out. This is a 2025. This is as much of a challenging year as ever, but, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. And, I'm not worried about, like, I'm Ali Khan. Didn't you watch Cheap Eats? If anything, I have a very different approach. I'm like, oh yeah, I was on this cable network thing, and people will be like, oh yeah, cable networks, it's crazy, right? Like, it's just, what are you gonna do? It's not my fault. You know what I mean? I it's just, the world changes.
Maybe if you had made the eats a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, right. I don't trust me. You wouldn't want to look at it on TV. I have had that conversation with some of your colleagues, and they're like, Ollie, we tried really hard on that show. And I'm like, I am out there on the front lines looking for this food. Believe me, $24 a day is challenging. That's very challenging, even in 2012. Yeah, I'm Mark Bittman. I'm Mark Bittman.
It's like, it doesn't have quite the ring of I'm Batman, but it's, I'm Bittman.
Exactly.
Bittman? Maybe that's his superhero. Bittman.
Well, he is kind of a grumpy, surly guy. And I'll tell you too, there are some folks in that industry that, look, I think it's fair to say journalists don't make a ton of money. You know what I mean? So when you do get established, and probably not a better gig to get in journalism than, say, the New York Times, right? And even that struggles, But I think part of that is you want that job so bad because of a sense of self-worth, prestige, more than the money. But money's nice too. It's I find some folks in that world can have egos because they don't have a lot. They don't have a whole lot more to show for it than, hey, I was at this very prestigious thing for a long time. And they're probably like the biggest gatekeepers, so it's interesting when one day they kind of go, oh wait, the floodgates are open, and suddenly they're not the sole authority as they once thought they would always be. I don't know. Weird stuff, kind of deep, but let's just stick to the basics. Neil thinks about Mark Bittman saying, I'm Mark Bittman, a lot.
A lot. I think we should leave it there. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm Mark Bittman.
I'm Mark Bittman.
Mark Bittman.
Bye, Maddie.
Maddie gave me a huge compliment the other day from my Big Mac sauce. I was kind of a little floored about it.
Screenshot it.
Oh yeah, done deal.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. More to do. Keep sending in those questions,
please,
and we'll talk about this game of life, but not the game of life necessarily that we talked about today.
The board game of life. All right. Bye-bye.